Real quick before we get into today's video, just want to thank all the people over on Patreon for all of their support, because without their help, all this upgraded content, in particular the video essays like the video essay on Naruto's curse, all that content would not be possible without the help of all the people on Patreon. And I know at this point the YouTube memberships is a running gag at this point, and the YouTube membership filler arc is running on longer than some of the Naruto Shippuden filler. However, I am going to do something for YouTube memberships at some point, but what I can say about the Patreon is that you get exclusive sneak peeks to videos that are months in advance. You also get a really cool anime and manga haul that gets done every 3 months, and there's some really good goodies in that one. And when we do Q&As, the people over on Patreon get their questions answered first. But with that being said, let's get right into the review. Yo, what's going on, everybody? It's your boy Naruto Explain here, bringing you guys a review for Boruto episode 219. And now that episode 219 is done and in the books, we got a lot to talk about, because the anime just covered quite a bit of information from 2 manga chapters, and in particular they changed some scenes around and they added some additional scenes, so we have a lot to talk about now that episode 219 is done in the books. And just for clarification, today's review is going to look a little bit different than my normal reviews, simply for the fact that I am out of town as I'm recording this right now, so I don't have access to all of my equipment that I normally use, so I can't screen capture and show you some of the clips from the episode. So this is going to be more so screenshots. So I'm not going to have any of the actual footage in this one. But with that being said, though, I thank you for your patience for this review. So let's get right into it. So getting right into it, I have to say I love how the episode just immediately starts off with Boruto, and he's attempting to use his karma seal, and Boruto is showing that he has a little bit of PTSD, because Boruto's in a situation where he's got the karma activated. He's trying to use the portal, but he can't do it consciously at will. And it's kind of one of those things where Kawaki picks up on it right away, and he's like, yo, you're overthinking this. You're worried about Momoshiki taking over your body again. You got to let go of all that stuff right there, and you got to tap into that source of power. And Naruto's looking at it like, oh my god, this is such a issue right here. In the manga, he even calls it a fluke. However, in the anime, they cut that line out. But the reason why I think that this works is Sasuke is watching Boruto very closely, because Sasuke can't use his Rinnegan at all. And that's interesting. That's something I want to do a separate video on. But what I like about this is that Kawaki tells Boruto, just relax, tap into your karma. And the way that I kind of liken it is just like if you're driving a stick shift. You don't think about where's my clutch pedal, where's my brake, and where's my gas. When you've been driving stick long enough, you just immediately get into it. You don't need to look at your RPMs. You can tell when you got to shift. Using the karma seal is very similar. And once Boruto stops thinking and Boruto allows nature to run its course, that's when Boruto's karma seal activates, and Sasuke realizes, okay, Boruto doesn't know what he's doing. He grabs Naruto, and they immediately jump into the portal, and you see everybody, and they get back to Konoha. They're on top of the Hokage rooftop at this point, and Katasuke and Shikamaru and Amado and Sumire, they all get the update that Boruto and everybody's returned. And once you pay very close attention to something, Amado's first reaction was, what's wrong with Kawaki? Did Kawaki make it back? We have not gotten a full answer in the manga yet, but it's very telling, in my opinion, that Amado's first worry was about Kawaki and nobody else. But we got to get to the big stuff. So now we got the recap portion out of the way with the earlier part of the review. We have to look at this right here. So the extra scenes added go a long way. And I feel like it's only appropriate after such a monumental episode last week that we see more of the fallout with Naruto losing Kurama. So the small touches of Naruto sitting on top of the Hokage tower with Sasuke, and you get the shot of Sasuke's eye. That was all to be expected, because that was from the manga. But what's not expected was seeing Sakura and Katasuke overlook Boruto and Kawaki's medical records, and also see Sakura run the tests on Sasuke to confirm that his Rinnegan can't be used anymore, and to confirm that Naruto lost all of Kurama's power, and Sakura specifically says you don't have any of that superhuman ability. So I'm even more so in the camp now to where he can't access any of that Biju chakra. There's no foreign chakra inside of his body right now. Again, those are going to be separate videos I'm going to make later this week, because that's a huge confirmation right there. But those small touches were very nice. And that one line that Naruto has in there where he says, I felt like I lost a part of me. I feel like a part of me is missing. That was not something you got in the manga, and the anime added that in there, and that just does so much. Because the problem that, in my opinion, a lot of Naruto fans who followed Naruto's journey for a long time, people like me who followed it damn near from the very beginning, the problem that a lot of people had is that it didn't seem like you had a lot of closure. And one of the things that I've always said is that the reason why you don't see Naruto moping around over everything is because his son is freaking out, and his son is absolutely terrified and scared of being taken over by Momoshiki. He feels guilty about everything that's going on. As a parent, you don't want to project your own fear onto your child, so you're going to put on a brave face. That's how I interpreted Naruto's stuff, because you have to remember this is a story about Naruto as a father as well. In the very beginning, it's he and Boruto's story, a story of father and son. So that's how I interpret it. However, I like how Naruto says, well, Kurama would just tell me, get over it, you idiot. You know, you're the Hokage. That's why you don't see Naruto in mourning like this. And I'm completely okay with it. I love those small additions right there. And I also like how on the rooftop scene, you had Sarada and Mitsuki, and they show up and you see the interactions and the greetings. Again, that was stuff that you didn't see in the manga. Just that little extra bit of dialogue on there to where Sasuke is watching as Boruto is feeling completely just wrecked about the fact that he destroyed Sasuke's Rinnegan, and Boruto's trying to beat himself up for it, and Sarada forgives him, which leads to Sasuke forgiving him. And the way that the animation was done there, where you get the shot of Sasuke's eye and you see the way that the hair's moving as he's turning around to speak to Boruto and say it's no problem. I love that right there. Very nicely done. And I also like how you get an extra line in there to where when they're interrogating Amado further, how Naruto once again makes a reference to Kurama and says, yeah, we got the victory, but it wasn't without sacrifice. I love that. Very small touches, very much love. Now, what was shocking was the fact that they gave more of the information about Code in this episode. So I was expecting them to explain like, hey, you know, Code has the karma seal, and I was expecting to see Isshiki's spirit appear in front of Code. Could that happen in the manga? But if I'm not mistaken, the Amado conversation where he's talking about how Code has potential even greater than Jigen, and that there were several cyborgs who are stronger than Jigen, but Code was specifically modified to where he was weakened lesser to Jigen. If I'm not mistaken, all that happened after the fact. What I love about this is you get this very beautiful shot of as the anime is rearranging everything, and they're showing you some events from later chapters and cutting out the Boruto and Kawaki conversation on top of the Hokage monument. They just have Amado explain everything, and I thought that was better from a storyboarding perspective. And what I like about this is that we get the clear differential once again. Jigen is Jigen, Isshiki is Isshiki. Code even has a moment where he says, oh my god, you're Jigen, no, you're Isshiki. So you get those small little tidbits right there where they're letting you know that like Jigen is one level of power, Isshiki is another level. And what I like about this is that when Amado explains why Code is so special, he says, well, Code was a worshiper of the Otsutsuki clan. And that explains why when Code was making fun of Boro with that religious cult, that's why Code was doing that, because he knew that what Boro was doing was not real religion. Code himself is a religious zealot. So I love that you see that. I also love that they spell everything out for you. Code has the karma seal, but he cannot be used to revive Isshiki. And what I like about this right here is that they're telling you Code is as powerful as the other inner members in terms of battle power, but once he has his limiters taken off, he's going to be even more powerful. And then you can add the karma seal multiplier on top of that. Even though it's not a fully functional karma, he still has the power upgrade that comes from using the karma seal. So I love that the anime does a good job of explaining that right there. It was almost word for word how it was in the manga, just the way that they kind of jumped in between sequences and showed you what was going on with Code. I love seeing that right there. I love how Isshiki is revived briefly through Code's karma seal, and it's just his spirit that's reaching him. The major change that we get here is that we did not see the Otsutsuki god. So in the manga, you actually see the Otsutsuki god, because when Isshiki is telling Code you need to go forward and you need to carry out the will of the Otsutsuki, he has this really badass moment to where he's like, man, you know, Amado, Sasuke, Naruto, Boruto, Kawaki, these are people all responsible for my death. He's basically given a hit list. He's like that mafia boss that is on his deathbed giving out the final orders. And me personally, I wanted to see that in the anime, the scene of the Isshiki God. So what that makes me wonder is that something that is going to get showed later on? Now, other small things that you get in this episode that are anime only that pad out the story is the fact that you have a lot of those interactions with Sumire, and you just see this gradual build up towards the whole Sumire has a huge crush on Boruto. And the manga is actually Kawaki who says, like, you really like Boruto, don't you? In this one, you have multiple people that are pointing that out right there. And I know there are some Borosar shippers who are getting really upset over this right now. And I'm going to say what I said before, and I caught some heat for it. You know, I said, like, hey, like, I make the Borosar videos because you guys asked for it and asked for proof and etc. But I've also said, like, hey, this is really giving me the vibes of the Naruto and Sakura thing, and the arguments you guys are making are the same arguments that a lot of Narusaku fans are making back in 2012. For reference, 2012 is towards the end of the war arc, but before Kage got revived, Madara and Obito were still the big bad guys at that point. The arguments a lot of you guys are making are the same arguments Narusaku fans are making. This will be my last warning on it. Like, hey, like, you might not want to get your hopes up. I really think it's Boruto and Sumire, but hey, it is what it is. You know, there are a lot of red herrings that are out there. Kishimoto does this type of writing on purpose. I really feel like this is a strong telegraph for the Boruto and Sumire thing. Now that part's out of the way, I also want to kind of talk to you guys about the Boruto and Kawaki bond, because I love how in this episode you see more of these two sitting there and they're talking, and Boruto's like, you know, hey, you said that you won't run away, and that's cool, but my home is your home. It's our home. And that's very nice foreshadowing. If you read the manga, you know exactly what they're doing in that scene right there. So I love that little tidbit there to where how they're already laying the framework for the eventual manga adaptation of once we get past the current manga arc. So I love that tidbit there. I also love how Boruto and Kawaki, after they get the news that their body is 80% Otsuki, how Kawaki is trying to lift Boruto's spirits up by saying, hey, we got rid of my karma seal, but we got to get rid of yours before that Otsuki guy gets revived. So no worries, man. The mission objective hasn't changed. Kawaki in a lot of ways reminds me of Sasuke in that aspect. If you guys will drop the whole narrative like Sasuke super emo, if you look at Sasuke very closely, Sasuke throughout the Naruto manga, his anger and hatred was always aimed at someone. He always had a clear purpose in mind. And with Kawaki, it's the same thing. It's never changed. It is getting rid of the karma seal. His main objective is getting rid of the karma. And even though he's lost karma himself, he wants to get rid of Boruto because their fates are intertwined. If he doesn't get rid of Boruto's karma seal, Momoshiki takes over, and then all of a sudden Kawaki gets fed to a 10-tail. So I love how that sense of urgency is there right there. And I also love how the anime also explains why Boruto's having the media tour and everything where people are interviewing him. They just showed the little small scene of Katasuke running his mouth, and that's how Boruto gets celebrated as the hero of the village, because a lot of people are like, oh my god, the Hokage saved us from Otsuki, and it ends up being Boruto that gets the credit for it. When this came out in the manga, people such as myself thought that this was a distraction meant to kind of give people a face to look at, which that is true to an extent. Boruto was being used as a media puppet in order to bring down the tension that exists inside of the village. However, on the flip side of that too, is that we know that this is a complete fluke. So I love that, you know, we see that comedy aspect right there with Katasuke being worried and he's the reason why this happens. I also love how they also showed us Team 7 got disbanded, and I love how Boruto apologized. In the manga, we didn't see Boruto apologize to his team. So I love that little tidbit there, and how Sarada has a moment where she gets really upset for a second, then she forgives him because she understands this was inevitable. And Mitsuki goes as far as to say, like, hey, you're in a situation where if you go out on a mission and you lose control, you're a hero right now. But if you lose control on a mission or you lose control inside the village, everyone's going to hate you. And I love that. because that's Mitsuki dropping some real knowledge right there. Mitsuki's basically saying people's eyes are on you right now. You can't afford to mess up, but you're also a security risk. So of course we're not going to go on missions, because Boruto says that Shikamaru is overreacting. That's why I made my video a few days ago where I said I wonder if Boruto's going to get disqualified during the tuning exams. And this was what I was referring to in that video when I said Boruto has a certain situation that's going on in the manga that is tied to his karma seal that I didn't want to spoil. I didn't expect the anime to get to this scene this quickly. However, now that it did, I feel comfortable talking about it. I probably should have waited to make that video, but Boruto and his karma seal intertwined right now. So that's very interesting to see how they kind of handle that. They also redid the scene where everyone is watching. In the manga, they were in a separate area. It looked like they were potentially in the green room in the studio where they were talking, and you saw Sarada, and she's sitting up on the chair, and I think Shikadai is playing the video games, and they're watching Boruto's interview. Sumire was not there at the time, if I'm not mistaken. They rearranged that whole sequence, and I think that the way that the anime did it, it was more so for the better here. This is a double thing. It was also to put you in a situation where you get everybody's reactions to Boruto during the interview, but also to give more of that cannon fodder to the Boruto Sumire relationship pairing. And I like how the next episode preview is a huge one, because the anime is continuing to adapt the manga, and because the way they're handling this is you're getting the whole situation of the Kage approach Naruto and they say, hey, if things get too crazy with your son, if it looks like he cannot be saved and he's going to transform into an Otsutsuki, can you do what needs to be done? Can you kill your son? And you have to put yourself in the shoes of Naruto for a second. And I like what the anime is doing by kind of spending more time on this next week. Is part 1 of Boruto. The early part, according to Boruto in chapter 1, is the story of himself and his father. And he says specifically that the first part of the story is their story, and then it transitions over to his story. Well, Naruto just lost Kurama in order to protect his son. Isshiki was going to kill Sasuke, he was going to kill Naruto, he was going to feed Boruto to the Ten Tails and use Kawaki as a vessel. Naruto sacrificed Kurama in order to protect his son, or if you want to look at it as Kurama sacrificed himself to protect Naruto's family, however you want to word it. The fact is that Naruto's now in a situation where his peers in the alliance are telling him, you got to kill your son. And I like how the anime in the next episode preview shows you Naruto and Sasuke going back and forth on it. I love that. That's very huge. So I'm very much looking forward to seeing what they do next week. So my episode questions for you guys is, number 1, how do you guys feel about the extra scenes added to show Naruto coping with Kurama's loss? Do you agree with me that Naruto's mind state is partially, yes, Kurama will want me to go forward and be strong, but also Naruto's thinking as a father, he can't project that fear and that sorrow when his own son is struggling right now? And then the second question I have for you guys is, if you're an anime only fan, how do you feel about the fact that Code has a karma seal, and that once Code has his limiters taken off, Code is going to be more powerful than Jigen was? How do you feel about that now that Naruto's lost the power of the Nine Tails and Sasuke's lost the Rinnegan? Let me know down in the comment section below. But as always, guys, if you like anything I had to say, don't forget to comment, rate, subscribe, and share. Thank you so much for watching to the end. Have an awesome day, guys.